Our
the military.
defense minister Gallant is not even a joke. He's worse than
He's
he's worse than a joke.
worse than a joke.
And
He
on that note, I would ask you about another to do with what he is supposed to be dealing with, rather than tearing down Jewish homes and destroying Jewish property, which is what Gallant and Fuchs and Herzia Levy and all these characters are very, very good at, and very
Excellent.
they busy themselves with these sorts of activities. Obviously, they have no time for our enemies and for prosecuting the war. And one example of that is our complete lack, apparently, of appropriate defensive capabilities against drones coming from the north and from the east. What can you tell us about that?
Well, let me concentrate on the north right now. We have a major problem defending our bases in the north from drone attacks. Um, when I've made inquiries about this, because I found it highly suspicious as to why this is so, I have found out that there just aren't any defenses. So this is why Mount Har Meron, the base that we have at Meron, up in the mountain, on top of the mountain, which is a critical base, is being hammered by drones constantly. This is why the dirigible that we have called the Sky Do, that's distant early warning dirigible, was frightfully expensive, but it performs a critical function because it's a look down system that can see drones and cruise missiles and aircraft coming in from the east, from Syria, and from Lebanon. It's very important. Well, friends of mine who were up there have video that they showed me of Hezbollah drones coming down and knocking it down. Okay, and that's when I started asking questions. Where is the defense? Okay, where are the defensive
Are
systems?
you describing some kind of a massive balloon?
Yeah, it's a dirigible. It's a balloon
Right.
that goes up many thousands of feet, and it has a highly sensitive, highly accurate set of sensors and radars that can are quite accurate, and they can locate drones coming in. They can locate cruise missiles coming in, and then they can
And it
vector.
was completely undefended.
It was completely undefended, completely undefended. So I sat down and I looked at what the Ukrainians were doing, because the Ukrainians are actually, in spite of the fact that they're being overwhelmed by drones and cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, they're knocking down the vast majority of Iranian supplied Shahed drones that are targeting their cities and power stations, etc. And I'm looking at the equipment they have, and for that function, they just have simple automatic cannons with very crude detection equipment and Mark One eyeballs, and they're knocking them down. I mean, quite frequently, they're knocking them down. They have other sophisticated systems that they use, missile systems that they use as well. But for these drones, most of them are just knocked down by automatic cannon. So what happened was I sat down and I drew up a design of an anti-drone vehicle that was based on the Aton armored personnel carrier that we have, or the old M113, doesn't matter. And it had a radar on it, multifaceted radar, an electro-optical system on it that was locally produced, and twin cannon. Pretty simple. And I talked to people in the Curia about this, and I said, we can produce this now. Right now, we can do this. And they had no response. We're not interested. To the public, and ask a simple question. If I,
Why don't we have such a thing?
why don't we have this? Why does it take someone
If
like
the
me?
Ukrainians can do it, then surely we should be able
Why
to
can't we
do
do it? And the system that I just described is infinitely more sophisticated than anything they're using right now to accomplish the same mission of knocking these drones down. I mean, I've pointed out that each major base up north should have a platoon of 5 of these vehicles, and certainly what every day we're watching homes in Metula and Kiryat Shmona and Shlomi and
being
other places
destroyed on a daily
being
basis.
destroyed. This vehicle can shut these line of sight Cornet missiles down, anti-tank missiles. This vehicle can shoot them down. Why aren't we doing this? Well, some of the officers that I've interviewed up north have told me, why should we be concerned? These homes and businesses are unoccupied. And I looked at them and I said, well,
it's difficult.
hopefully
It's
one day
difficult
they
to know
will
whether
be.
it's a laugh or cry. Truly,
these same vehicles could literally defend places like Shlomi, Metula, and Kiryat Shmona.
They would change. They would change the equation altogether.
Completely, because all these homes that are being businesses that are being destroyed by line of sight cornets, that are being used, anti-tank rockets that are being used by Hezbollah, this type of vehicle could knock them down. So why aren't we doing this? Here again, here's another example of, is it a conspiracy? I mean, are these people that stupid that they don't understand that within a matter of weeks we could have an answer for these systems? I don't know. I don't know.
You're talking of people who were indoctrinated by the courses to which they were sent by the Israeli army, paid for by the Wexner Fund and by George Soros,
and infected with Osloites.
The New Israel Fund. They're Osloites, which is another way of saying that they're dysfunctional morons.
Correct.
They cannot see and appreciate reality, and they have no idea what to do about it.
It's
all they can do is think about how to get back to the 6th of October.
Right. It's a lack of critical thinking. And that happened. I mean, it was down in the south, and it's happening along the seam lines.
Now tell us about what's coming in from the east, from Iraq.
Yeah, it's the problem coming in right now are cruise missiles and drones, and there are a lot more that are coming in that are generally known, and they're being knocked down principally by our Adir F-35s. So people have asked me, okay, why don't we use them up north? Well, the issue is the main threat coming in is from the east right now. These are mostly directed at, we estimate, at population centers in Israel. And these drones and cruise missiles have some pretty big warheads. I mean, they could do some serious damage. They could inflict a lot of casualties if they got through. These are the same ones targeting Eilat, by the way. So it could, if we had an unlimited number of F-35s, could they protect the north against certain threats? Yes, they could. But the weapons they use, the air-to-air weapons that they use, are just too expensive to be used against these $10,000 or $15,000 drones that are coming in. I mean, the U.S. Navy right now is finding this problem down against the Houthis, where the Houthis will send, a drone that costs maybe $10,000 to target a merchant ship, and the U.S. Convoy or the destroyer or the frigate that's convoying these merchant ships have to take the drone out with a missile that costs maybe $1 million or $1.5 million. The economics don't work, and expending these missiles can sometimes leave these warships with a depleted missile armament, and they cost a lot of money. So it's the same thing by using an F-35 in our case against these drones, cheap drones coming in from Hezbollah. Is the F-35 a good weapon to use against the drones and cruise missiles coming in from the east, from Iraq? Yes, it is, because we don't have any ground forces out there, ground defenses that could maybe engage them. So the F-35 is okay for that mission. The north? No. I mean, we need point defenses. We need ground defenses with our major bases up north. It's just common sense. And, when someone like me provides an answer, a very simple answer that can be implemented quite appropriately and quite quickly with home equipment, with equipment manufactured in Israel, and the army is just completely deaf, dumb, and blind to this, you really have to wonder about this. And you know, the same thing is with the construction of artillery shells. We desperately need to produce our own large numbers of 155 millimeter artillery shells. And I saw a video that was put out by Elbit showing this one guy making these shells. Now, I don't know if there are any more people involved, but that's what they showed. And I asked a simple question from some friends of mine, again, in the Kiryat. You know, with additive 3D manufacturing, which is capable of creating stainless steel objects, we could have a building with hundreds, if not thousands, of these 3D additive technology machines, basically creating artillery shells rather than have one guy basically manufacturing these things. And did I get any traction? Did anybody call me back? Did anybody think about? No. And this is what I mean by saying it's either collusion or criminal incompetence. I don't care which it is. It's got to stop. It has to stop, because we aren't going to make it if we're saddled with these guys who are intent on destroying this country, either out of calculation or incompetence. And they say a fish rots from the head down. And that means getting rid of Gallant and Eisenkot and Gantz and Halevi and all of these guys. And the word has to go down further to people in charge of like the weapons manufacturing division in the Army. We have drones coming in, get a fix, get a solution now. We have a problem with artillery shells, get a solution for that now.
It should be pointed out that these missiles and drones, etc., in the final analysis, they all originate from Iran.
Yes.
Or the forces firing these weapons at us are supported by, backed by, funded by Iran.
Equipped by Iran. Yes.
Equipped by Iran, directed by Iran. They don't fire a single drone without express permission and instruction from Iran.
Correct.